Good morning. Thank you for joining me today. This morning, we will be in Exodus chapter 12, verse 14, through chapter 13, verse 16. This day, Passover, will become a memorial for you, and you will celebrate it as a festival to the Lord. You will celebrate it perpetually as a lasting ordinance. For 7 days you must eat bread made without yeast. Surely on the first day you must put away yeast from your houses, because anyone who eats bread made with yeast from the first day to the 7th day will be cut off from Israel. On the first day there will be a holy convocation, and on the 7th day there will be a holy convocation for you. You must not do any work of any kind on them, only what every person will eat, that alone may be prepared for you. So you will keep the feast of unleavened bread, because on this very day I brought your regiments out from the land of Egypt, and so you must keep this day perpetually as a lasting ordinance. In the first month, from the 14th day of the month in the evening, you will eat bread made without yeast until the 21st day of the month in the evening. For 7 days yeast must not be found in the houses. For whoever eats what is made with yeast, that person will be cut off from the community of Israel, whether a foreigner or one born in the land. You will not eat anything made with yeast. In all the places where you live, you must eat bread made without yeast. Then Moses summoned all the elders of Israel and told them, "Go and select for yourselves a lamb or young goat for your families, and kill the Passover animals. Take a branch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and apply it to the top of the door frame and the 2 side posts, some of the blood that is in the basin. Not one of you is to go out the door of his house until morning, for the Lord will pass through to strike Egypt. And when he sees the blood on the top of the door frame and the 2 side posts, then the Lord will pass over the door, and he will not permit the destroyer to enter your houses to strike you. You must observe this event as an ordinance for you and for your children forever. When you enter the land that the Lord will give to you, just as he said, you must observe this ceremony. When your children ask you, 'What does this ceremony mean to you?' then you will say, 'It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, when he passed over the houses of the Israelites in Egypt, when he struck Egypt and delivered our households.' The people bowed down low to the ground, and the Israelites went away and did exactly as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron. It happened at midnight. The Lord attacked all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh, who sat on his throne, to the firstborn of the captive who was in the prison, and all the firstborn of the cattle. Pharaoh got up in the night, along with all his servants and all Egypt, and there was a great cry in Egypt, for there was no house in which there was not someone dead. Pharaoh summoned Moses and Aaron in the night and said, 'Get up, get out from among my people, both you and the Israelites. Go serve the Lord as you have requested. Also take your flocks and your herds, just as you have requested, and leave. But bless me also.' The Egyptians were urging the people on in order to send them out of the land quickly, for they were saying, 'We are all dead.' So the people took their dough before the yeast was added, with their kneading troughs bound up in their clothing on their shoulders. Now the Israelites had done as Moses told them. They had requested from the Egyptians silver and gold items and clothing. The Lord gave the people favor in the sight of the Egyptians, and they gave them whatever they wanted, and so they plundered Egypt. The Israelites journeyed from Ramesses to Succoth. There were about 600,000 men on foot, plus their dependents. A mixed multitude also went up with them, and flocks and herds, a very large number of cattle. They baked cakes of bread without yeast, using the dough they had brought from Egypt, for it was made without yeast. Because they were thrust out of Egypt and were not able to delay, they could not prepare food for themselves either. Now the length of time the Israelites lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of the 430 years, on the very day, all the regiments of the Lord went out of the land of Egypt. It was a night of vigil for the Lord to bring them out from the land of Egypt. And so on this night, all Israel is to keep the vigil to the Lord for generations to come. The Lord said to Moses and Aaron, 'This is the ordinance of the Passover. No foreigner may share in eating it. But everyone's servant who is bought for money, after you have circumcised him, may eat it. A foreigner and a hired worker must not eat it. It must be eaten in one house. You must not bring any of the meat outside the house, and you must not break a bone of it. The whole community of Israel must observe it. When a foreigner lives with you and wants to observe the Passover to the Lord, all his males must be circumcised, and then he may approach and observe it, and he will be like one who was born in the land, but no uncircumcised person may eat of it. The same law will apply to the person who is native born and to the foreigner who lives among you. So all the Israelites did exactly as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron. And on this very day the Lord brought the Israelites out of the land of Egypt by their regiments. The Lord spoke to Moses, "Set apart to me every firstborn male, the first offspring of every womb among the Israelites, whether human or animal, it is mine." Moses said to the people, "Remember this day on which you came out from Egypt, from the place where you were enslaved, for the Lord brought you out of there with a mighty hand, and no bread made with yeast may be eaten. On this day, in the month of Abib, you are going out. When the Lord brings you to the land of the Canaanite, a Hittite, Amorite, Hivite, and Jebusite, which he swore to your fathers to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey, then you will keep this ceremony in this month. For 7 days you must eat bread made without yeast, and on the 7th day there is to be a festival to the Lord. Bread made without yeast must be eaten for 7 days, and no bread made with yeast shall be seen among you. And you must have no yeast among you within any of your borders. You are to tell your son on that day, 'It is because of what the Lord did for me when I came out of Egypt.' It will be a sign for you on your hand, and a memorial on your forehead, so that the law of the Lord may be in your mouth. For with a mighty hand the Lord brought you out of Egypt. So you must keep this ordinance at its appointed time from year to year. When the Lord brings you into the land of the Canaanites, as he swore to you and to your fathers, and gives it to you, then you must give over to the Lord the first offspring of every womb, every firstling of beast that you have. The males will be the Lord's. Every firstling of donkey you must redeem with a lamb, and if you do not redeem it, then you must break its neck. Every firstborn of your sons you must redeem. In the future, when your son asks, 'What is this?' you are to tell him, 'With a mighty hand the Lord brought us out from Egypt, from the land of slavery. When Pharaoh stubbornly refused to release us, the Lord killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of people to the firstborn of animals. That is why I am sacrificing to the Lord the first male offspring of every womb. But all my firstborn sons I redeem. It will be a sign on your hand, and for frontals on your forehead, for with a mighty hand the Lord brought us out of Egypt." So, it strikes me in Exodus how much emphasis is being put on this event. Just the immediate memorial observances that are being put in place. This is happening on the first month for you. This is a festival for you, a holy convocation. You're going to have these rituals of like only eating unleavened bread on throughout the month, or however it's celebrated. Yeah, for 7 days you must eat bread made without yeast. And there's going to be a festival too. And just in the last chapter and a half, there's been at least 3 mentions of when your son asks you what you're doing and what this means to you, this is what you're supposed to say to him. And yeah, so there's a huge amount of emphasis being put on this. And I think it's because Jesus also comes as a Passover sacrifice, not only for the Jew, but also for the Gentile as well. And I guess in addition to it's a lamb that's being slain, or a young goat, to cover over the particular house. So too, you also have imagery in like 12:22. Take a branch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and apply it to the top of the doorframe and the 2 side posts, some of the blood that is in the basin. So this blood is being applied by the branch, and the branch is also a messianic term. Um, so just deliverance being brought through a branch, the branch. So, which I think is cool. Yeah, and Pharaoh quickly hurries them out of Egypt. Oh, yeah. So it mentions specifically the amount of time here that it was 430 years um, between the, oh goodness, Israelites coming into Egypt and them coming out of Egypt. But I was just wondering if this was prophesied elsewhere. I know God at least tells Abraham that his descendants are going to go into Egypt and be oppressed for a while. I don't know. I can't find it right now. Too sleepy. Anywho, Matthew chapter 20, verse 29 through 21, verse 22. As they were leaving Jericho, a large crowd followed them. 2 blind men were sitting by the road. When they heard that Jesus was passing by, they shouted, "Have mercy on us, Lord, Son of David." The crowd scolded them to get them to be quiet, but they shouted even more loudly, "Lord, have mercy on us, Son of David." Jesus stopped, called them, and said, "What do you want me to do for you?" They said to him, "Lord, let our eyes be opened." Moved with compassion, Jesus touched their eyes. Immediately they received their sight and followed him. Now, when they approached Jerusalem and came to Bethphage at the Mount of Olives, Jesus sent 2 disciples, telling them, "Go to the village ahead of you. Right away, you will find a donkey tied there and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, you are to say, 'The Lord needs them,' and you will send them at once." This took place to fulfill what was spoken by the prophet. "Tell the people of Zion, look, your king is coming to you, unassuming and seated on a donkey and on a colt, the foal of a donkey." So the disciples went and did as Jesus had instructed them. They brought the donkey and the colt and placed their cloaks on them, and he sat on them. A very large crowd spread their cloaks on the road. Others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. The crowds that went ahead of him and those following kept shouting, "Hosanna to the Son of David! Blessed is the one who comes in the name of the Lord! Hosanna in the highest!" As he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was thrown into an uproar, saying, "Who is this?" And the crowds were saying, "This is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth in Galilee." Then Jesus entered the temple area and drove out all those who were selling and buying in the temple courts, and turned over the tables of the money changers and the chairs of those selling doves. And he said to them, "It is written, 'My house will be called a house of prayer,' but you are turning it into a den of robbers." The blind and lame came to him in the temple courts, and he healed them. But when the chief priests and the experts in the law saw the wonderful things he did, and heard the children crying out in the temple courts, "Hosanna to the Son of David," they became indignant and said to him, "Do you hear what they are saying?" Jesus said to them, "Yes, have you never read, 'Out of the mouths of children and nursing infants you have prepared praise for yourself'?" And leaving them, he went out of the city to Bethany, and spent the night there. Now early in the morning, as he returned to the city, he was hungry. After noticing a fig tree by the road, he went to it, but found nothing on it except leaves. He said to it, "Never again will there be fruit from you." And the fig tree withered at once. When the disciples saw it, they were amazed, saying, "How did the fig tree wither so quickly?" Jesus answered them, "I tell you the truth, if you have faith and do not doubt, not only will you do what was done to the fig tree, but even if you say to this mountain, 'Be lifted up and thrown into the sea,' it will happen. And whatever you ask in prayer, if you believe, you will receive." Um, from other gospel accounts, um, know that this triumphal entry takes place during the Passover. Oh, goodness. Oh, shoot. I'm not going to do this either. Oh, well. Yeah. I don't have a source for that offhand. Yeah. Um, I guess another thing that sticks out is you have this cleansing of the temple here, where Jesus enters the temple area and drives out all those who are selling and buying in the temple courts. Um, so this is a point that Mike Winger made recently, but Jesus wasn't just cool with people's sin and not bring it up kind of thing. He did bring up that they had to stop sinning. And in this case, he took action into his own hands that and drove the people out of the temple courts. Yeah. Don't have much more to say on this right now. Psalm 25, verses 16 through 22. Turn toward me and have mercy on me, for I am alone and oppressed. Deliver me from my distress. Rescue me from my suffering. See my pain and suffering. Forgive all my sins. Watch my enemies, for they outnumber me. They hate me and want to harm me. Protect me and deliver me. Please do not let me be humiliated, for I have taken shelter in you. May integrity and godliness protect me, for I rely on you. O God, rescue Israel from all their distress. And finally, Proverbs 6, verses 12 through 15. A worthless and wicked person walks around saying perverse things. He winks with his eyes, signals with his feet, and points with his fingers. He plots evil with perverse thoughts in his heart. He spreads contention at all times. Therefore his disaster will come suddenly. In an instant he will be broken, and there will be no remedy. Okay. Well, thank you for joining me today. Hope you have a great day. Bye.